Many of you have seen this design before, and you're like, where have I seen this before? PCBWay is one of the leading PCB manufacturers that I even use on a daily basis, not only to do my projects, but also some of the products that I've designed that's currently in the market, like the drone mesh VUSB, and I'm constantly using them for prototyping, and I'm also using their assembly services, and they also do have flashing services for specific hardware requirements, so it's a really great place to have your PCB manufactured or prototype. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the cheapest F4 all-in-one flight controller on the market. Now, I have been on a shopping spree buying every single cheap component I could possibly find in order to actually test and see if they're good. Now, the aim of this current video right now is to hopefully see if anybody has used it and let us know your experience down in the comment section. Not only that, we're going to do a setup guide in case somebody did purchase this, and later on we'll be setting this up on a super budget build. So I'm in search of the best budget or cheap build that money can buy. And this is why I've picked this board up. Some people might recognize this form factor here. Now, again, this is an all-in-one flight controller, which means the PDB and the flight controller are into one board. And then all you'd need to do is connect your ESCs here, single ESCs, you would connect them there. And obviously the signals would go here, but we'll cover that in a bit. Many of you have seen this design before, and you're like, where have I seen this before? This was the old DYS all-in-one flight controller, which was absolutely terrible. Well, I had very terrible experience with 3 of them in a row. Some people might have had good experience, but there was a lot of issues with these boards. However, this is slightly different. It's just the outer shell that's kind of copying that. If you take a closer look, you see it's basically 2 boards put into one. Now, why would a company do such thing? Well, one is to reduce cost. 2, another company that actually does this would be, for example, iFlight, and also the Emergent RC Rapid Fire Fat Shark module, which is 120 bucks or something. They do that also because there's 2 reasons why you would do such thing. One is to reduce cost. The second reason is why I think the Rapid Fire is doing it is they have a big manufacturer in China, manufacture the basic part that, you know, it doesn't matter if it gets cloned or not. And then the main logic or the main brains of the whole board would be manufactured somewhere, maybe in-house or a trusted company. It might be slightly more expensive, but this way you protect your investment and you protect your design. And once both boards are done, then you just bring them in, put them together. However, here I think it's towards the cheaper side, not the hiding the design side, because there's nothing to be hidden on an F4 flight control. This is all open source now. So I don't think it's that. So I think it's the cheap side because, again, it's really cheap here. How would this become cheaper? Well, for example, if you were to get PCBs, they price them by layers. So if you have 6 layers, it's really expensive. 2 layers is pretty cheap. So let's just say a 2-layer board is 50 cents. This is just theoretical right now. And a 6-layer board is like $4. There's a huge difference. So there are layers inside that run wires, for example, between the components. So for example, we could say this is a 2-layer and this is a 2-layer. That's 4 layers for $1 instead of, you know, paying like $5 for one board that has 4 layers, for example. This is where some of the price reduction could be. But not only that, this also has another functionality here, which is to allow bigger traces or bigger copper to be going for the power, because this is all in one, because the power for the ESCs and the motor is going to go through this board and get distributed everywhere. So that is also another reason why you would do that. It really does kind of help. And that's what iFlight does on some of their most expensive ones. It allows it to have better power delivery because it can keep the power traces much bigger inside. So it doesn't get cut up by these little ones right here for the main logic. So it has a lot of, you know, use cases where this comes actually handy. But here again, I think it's going for the cheapness, and at the same time they lucked out with having bigger power pads in order to have better power delivery. All right, so the first thing we want to take a look at is find the arrow, and it's all the way over here. So this would be installed in your quadcopter like this. Now, also, if you take a closer look, the quality isn't of the best quality, and that is to be expected for the price you're paying, which is 20 bucks for all-in-one. It could be nice for a cheap little basher quad. And I'm not saying this is not going to work. This will work, but it's the answer comes down to its longevity. And also, if you're going to have OSD flickers and everything of that nature. And we see we have 2 capacitors here. Usually you'd rather have these be tantalum capacitors, but it's okay. A lot of flight controllers get away with that, and you're usually fine in that perspective. So, and again, this will be installed in your quadcopter like this. USB would be off to the left. Here is the main battery. So this is where you'd install your Xt60 connector. So this is where the battery would connect, B plus, B minus, and then we have our ESCs. So this would be the power for the ESCs actually. So we're talking about single ESCs. Now, I'll also explain how to set up 4-in-1 ESC on this, and we're going to cover that once we get to that stage. So if you have a single ESC, you usually have your red and black wire, which is the power for the ESC, and also the white signal wire. So the power would go to these two here. Now, you don't know which one's positive, which one's negative. You flip it over and it'll tell you this would be the red wire of your ESC, this would be the black, and the signal is going to go right on this pad right here. They're very close to each other, so just be very careful when you're soldering, especially if you're new. I don't like how close the signal pad is to this pad right here, but then again, you're not paying that much. And the same thing goes for the rest of the motors. We have the V plus, so this would be the red wire up here, ground, and then this would be your signal. So motor 1, 2, 3, and 4. Same thing that goes for everything. And again, this one is not linked here, and you can actually see the positive and negative from the down part here. Now, it does also come with rubber grommets in order to soft mount it out of the box, which is also really nice here. And now let's cover if we were going to be installing whether an iBus or an S-Bus receiver, because this does play a big role here, because it is an F4 microcontroller unit and it does matter where it goes. Now, obviously in the top right here, nothing is labeled for us, so we will have to flip over the board to the back side here. So once we flip it over, we see everything is labeled pretty good here. Now, let's start with S-Bus. So if you're using FrSky S-Bus, where would this actually be connected here? So for the S-Bus signal, where you'd want to connect it would be right there. It says RX6 and it has an S. So UART6 will be for S-Bus here. So keep that in mind. It's very important. If you put iBus or Spectrum here, it'll never work. So that's where you'd put your signal. And then here we have right here, that's where you want to put your signal. And right below that, we have 5 volt in ground. This would be the red wire for your receiver, and this would be the black wire for your receiver. So this is how you'd connect S-Bus here. Now, if you had iBus or Spectrum, which is FlySky or Spectrum, then what I would do for iBus, for example, I would give it ground, 5 volt, and then I would go to RX3 up here, and I would put my iBus signal. And for Spectrum, you might be a 3.3 volt. I'd still put the signal here, but instead of 5 volt, I'd give it 3.3 volt and give it the ground. And we're set and done for our receivers here. So the next thing down the line is going to be our camera, and it's going to be in this section right here. So the black wire of the camera would go to ground, the red wire would go to the 5 volt right there, and the yellow wire would go to the video input right here. So this would cover your camera. However, common sense might tell you when we move to the video transmitter to start connecting it here. That is sort of correct, but I'll explain what I mean in a bit. Now, for your video transmitter, you'd put your ground right here, which is the black wire. Now, if you had a 5 volt VTX, then you'd put it here. But if you don't have a 5 volt VTX, don't put your red wire here. Let's skip this one. Next, we're going to go to the yellow wire. And the yellow wire from your video transmitter is going to go to the V out, which is video output, because the video input is going to come from the camera, go through the on-screen display chip, and then pop out from here to your video transmitter that goes down to your goggles. Next, we have the power for the video transmitter, and that will be VBAT here. So that will be battery voltage. So set that up there. Make sure you ground these two together, the camera and the video transmitter, in order not to have any OSD flickers. And yeah, just keep that in mind, very important. And now we've set up our video transmitter and camera as well. Now we're still left with a lot more things. We also have a buzzer pad up here. We should also have some LED hopefully somewhere. Yep, here's our LED right there. So if you wanted to connect the LED, you'd put the signal here, 5 volt and then ground, and you'll be set to go. And obviously we do have current sensing, and I also really like the filtration up here, but the thing is, I think this filtration is mainly for the 5 volt regulator. There could possibly be an LC filter for the video transmitter on battery voltage, but again, we're gonna have to wait and find out once I stick this on a build. If anyone has used it, please let us know down in the comment section. I'm very curious to see how it's gonna perform. Now, this thing will work out of the box, there is no doubt about that, but it's just in terms of longevity, and if you are gonna run into any problems with things such as OSD flickers and anything of that nature. But I really hope it's gonna be a pretty good flight controller out of the box for a nice basher quad. And I'm gonna leave it at that, guys. Everything's linked down below if you can check those out. Those greatly support the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.